I could internalize and accept the story that they were offering me about what my life would be. Or I could choose to reclaim that narrative for myself. I could make an active decision to decide what my own potential was going to look like. When I was that beaten, broken child, the one thing I could latch onto, the one thing that would give me a reason to ultimately be able to sit up after usually 45 minutes of working at it in those mornings where I felt completely removed from my own humanity, completely consumed by the darkness in which I lay. The one thing that would keep me moving was the understanding that I had the potential to build others up through this fight. By taking these challenges, taking this suffering, taking this impossible, facing it head on, and building a version of myself every single day who was capable of overcoming it, I could inspire and motivate and drive others in their own lives to do the same. And it was my passion for that art that kept me moving forward, kept me sitting up every morning, taking every challenge head on, and taking those steps, regardless of how many legs I possessed at the time. And it's that same fire that fueled the passion for that kid that ultimately allowed him to overcome his very hardest challenge. You see, as that chemo destroyed my GI tract to a greater and greater degree, it was also destroying my immune system. And this culminated in what was going to be my final dose of this most harrowing of agents, as it ate a hole directly through my colon and let all of the waste product in my body flood into my abdominal cavity with no immune system to be able to fight off any infection. I'll never forget that day of waking up with only enough strength to go to the bathroom, then drink a bottle of water because I was suffering from such intense thirst, and then fall asleep for another hour so I could repeat the cycle. On my third or fourth repetition, I couldn't make it back to bed, and I passed out on the couch. I woke up to paramedics trying to revive me, trying to bring me back to consciousness, nobody knowing what's going on. I'm rushed to a local hospital and immediately life-flighted to Nationwide Children's Hospital, where I'm brought to an ER trauma room that's converted very quickly to a surgical suite because my body was progressing into sepsis and then septic shock, and then my organs started shutting down. My liver, my heart, my lungs, my kidneys, one by one, they lost life. I received large incisions in my carotid artery and my femoral vein, where they hooked me up to an artificial heart and lung machine that pumps the blood out of your body, oxygenates it, filters it, and pumps it back in. No need to breathe. No need for your heart to circulate blood throughout your body. Yet my body was still shutting down. And doctors had to look my parents in the eyes and tell them to not expect me to live throughout the night. Until one physician decided she couldn't give up. Decided she had to find something to offer. She dug through the research and found case studies of experimental drugs, which they got approved for compassionate care use, built in the pharmacy, and then started administering them into me. And these drugs slowly started bringing me back. But the journey didn't end there. I had suffered so much physical trauma that doctors were telling my parents that I would never physically or mentally function independently again. I would face severe mental handicaps, not ever being able to think or reason or speak in the same capacity which I had before. I would suffer severe neurological and muscular trauma, keeping me from being able to walk independently if I ever regained that ability at all. And when I first started coming out of these comas, it was quickly apparent the damage that had been done. I failed first grade level exams, unable to name 5 words that start with the letter B. I was so weak I couldn't lift my own arm to scratch my nose. I could not move my legs at all, what was left of them. And the prognosis looked grave. And I was faced with an active decision in these moments. I could either surrender myself to the narrative that was being spun before me. I could internalize and accept the story that they were offering me about what my life would be. Or I could choose to reclaim that narrative for myself. I could make an active decision to decide what my own potential was going to look like. And despite whatever labels of what might be possible, what was impossible, whatever limitations people wanted to place on me, I could do just as I had done for the 9 months prior to overcome chemotherapy, and I could build an individual who was capable of doing those impossible things. I could build a version of myself who could not or should not have existed otherwise. I could be impossible myself. And thanks to that same passion that had started becoming built into a foundational purpose, and thanks to so many around me at that point who believed in me in the same capacity, I was able to do just that. So the 6 months of inpatient rehab they said it would take to maybe start taking my first steps again condensed into 2 weeks of physical therapy. And I took those steps. The severe mental handicaps I was to face for the rest of my life culminated in me earning a doctorate degree 6 years later. Those same neurological and muscular impairments culminated in me running marathons and setting records on a powerlifting platform, squatting more weight than any amputee has done in competition.